Welcome back. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people for your Monday, November the 14th. Starting things off with the Department of Player Safety coming in on the Soucy sucker punch from last night, which was on Pierre-Luc Dubois. And so they decided that's worth a fine of $2,500. He punched him in the back of the head and took a penalty, which caused the game-tying goal to take place for Blake Wheeler. And then, of course, Winnipeg won in overtime. So, I mean, in a way, he's kind of paid a bit of a price already, and now it's $2,500. So, in Canada, you'd e-transfer that. In the States, you Venmo it, and there you go. So it's kind of just a slap on the wrist, don't do it again kind of thing, and it should be easy enough to avoid sucker punching somebody else. So there you go. Now on to injury news. Patrick Laine, who has struggled with staying healthy this season, is out again. He is out now 3 to 4 weeks with a sprained ankle. You can't skate very well if your ankles are hurting, so yeah, it can be really hard on the ankles. So for Laine, 3 to 4 weeks, he came back earlier than expected. Last injury, we'll see if he tries that again, but it is going to be tough for him to do so. That being said, hopefully it is the 3 weeks, not the 4. We'll see what kind of shape Columbus is in when he gets back, right? And then Toronto, where the blue line continues to be ravaged with injuries. This has been going on, of course, their goaltending as well. Jake Muzzin is now out indefinitely, and it's a cervical spine injury, which sounds bad, and the fact that they're not reevaluating it until late February tells you it is exactly that. It's bad. So LTIR for Muzzin on that. And for the Leafs, they also have Brody going on the IR with an oblique injury. Now, of course, the IR could be a week. It could be 2. But yeah, for Muzzin, this is a tough break. This is a guy who's played hockey, I think, the right way, but the style of hockey played by guys like Muzzin, Tanev's an example in Calgary as well, it can be tough on your body. Absolutely can. And Muzzin, of course, has dealt with injuries over the last few years. And at some point in time, we see players get added to LTIR, and sometimes they don't end up coming back. So hopefully in Muzzin's case, when he's reevaluated in late February, he'll be fine and comes back. But it doesn't sound great right now for Muzzin. And of course for the Leafs, this is a tough break for them. They definitely are a team that has had their ups and downs early in the season. They need a healthy blue line. They need healthy goaltending. And they haven't had health from either of them, really. Not consistently, anyway. So we'll see how things go. But if you're a Leafs fan that's wanted to see a defenseman get traded out of Toronto, news like this means that's very likely not going to happen. Because without Brody and Muzzin, they need all hands on deck. If anything, they'll be trading 4 defensemen. But as has been stated numerous times over, the salary cap makes it very difficult for teams to make trades right now. It feels like everybody who's trying to make it to the playoffs and win a Stanley Cup, that they're all at the cap. So it makes it very difficult to make a deal unless you're making a deal with a team that has cap space, might have a player who's available, but it's going to cost you. So last night's game between the Jets and Seattle, as I said, Blake Wheeler scores to tie it with 4 seconds left, one of the latest tying goals in NHL history. And he reached 300 goals with that one. So nice to see Wheeler reach 300 goals and do so in Winnipeg. I think he's played well enough for them this year. His role has been kind of up and down this year. Sometimes he's on the first line, sometimes not. But yeah, Wheeler, 300 goals for him. Congratulations on that. Craig Morgan reporting that GM Bill Armstrong of the Arizona Coyotes is saying that both Schmaltz and Chychrun are expected back November 21st against Nashville. So this is where the Toronto looking for a defenseman thing kind of comes in. That's a week from today. So, yeah, Chychrun is exactly the kind of defenseman that I think could help a Toronto. So don't be surprised when there's all kinds of articles on how Toronto could get him and what it'll cost them. But Chychrun, I would be kind of surprised if they don't move him now. Look, Arizona's staying in the hunt despite being on a 14-game road trip, and Chychrun's going to be in demand. So all they have to do is probably take on a little bit of money and take on a couple of draft picks, and then you're good if you're Arizona, right? And so we'll see if that happens this year or not. And of course for Schmaltz, he hasn't played really since opening night. So it'd be nice to see Schmaltz back in the lineup. He can provide some offense, which, as we saw last night with the Rangers, Arizona sometimes still lacks. Now, I saw an article today talking about how the Canucks start to the season this year's worse than last season. Yeah, but this is kind of a pattern. So I just wanted to talk about this just a bit. They're 4-9-3 this season. Last year at this point they were 5-9-2, so they have one less point than last year. No big deal. The season prior to that they were 6-10, so they have one less point than they had 2 years ago to start the season. And the prior season where they actually made the playoffs, they started 9-4-3. So that's where that fast start is important. Prior seasons, just because I figured let's go all the way back to 2015-16, which was the first year after they made the playoffs in 2014-2015. I could go back to 2013, but hey, they were 9-6-1 to start the 18-19 season. They didn't make the playoffs that year. 8-6-2 to start the 17-18 season. Didn't make the playoffs that year. 6-9-1 to start the 16-17 season. Right, didn't make the playoffs. 15-16, they were 7-4-5 to start the season. So that's one of those times where, well, they're getting points, but they've only won 7 out of 16. Yeah, they they didn't make the playoffs that year either. They're not good starters, is what we're getting at here. Outside of 2018, 2019, and 2019, 2020, they've been relatively slow starters. And I mean, the 8-6-2 and 17-18 was, I guess, half decent, but it's a low bar, and the Canucks haven't cleared it. The bar we had was, hey, can we get a playoff game in Vancouver? And the answer is no. So we have not seen a home game in Vancouver with fans in attendance, kind of thing, since 2015 in Vancouver. Because of course the 2020 playoffs were held in the bubble, so that wasn't seen in Vancouver, and so it's been a while. It'll be 8 years in 2023, and I don't expect them to turn this around. And I think that at this point, it is a tough situation for Alvin, because I keep seeing people saying, well, we need to trade this guy, like as if there's cap space for that to happen. There really isn't. So I really think that for Alvin, he kind of has to just let the roster play it out. I don't know how long Boudreau sticks around. It's possible we see big changes with the entire coaching staff, but the players on the ice will probably stay largely the same because of cap issues. And I mean, over the summer they wanted to revamp the blue line. They weren't really able to. They've made a couple of deals to try to prop up the blue line with injuries this year, but it's not working. So we'll see how it goes, but again, this is kind of the expected deal. When you're a Canucks fan, it is about pain. And I know, me wearing a Toronto jersey and talking about that, there is some synergy there. And yeah, it really has been a tough start to the season, but it's not one that, once you got through the first 3 or 4 games of the season, I think we kind of knew where this was headed. But I don't put any of it on Boudreau, and I don't particularly blame any one player on the roster. I think there's a large amount of problems on the roster right now, and for the GM, I think it's tough because he inherited a team that was not built to win. But there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.